Tonight, an increase in drug-related roadside suspensions is raising questions about pot laws and policing.
Daily user or the frequent user is in grave danger.
Also, Regina City Police have added some specialized health monitoring technology to some of their cells. Plus, an impressive showing for a newly signed all-Canadian defensive back from the U of S at Ryder Rookie Camp.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Thursday, May 9th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening and thank you for watching. Nearly 1,600 Saskatchewan drivers were given temporary suspensions last year. It's because they tested positive for THC when they were given a roadside screening test, and a lot of them are angry. They say the laws are unfair and penalizing people who aren't impaired. Dan Zakreski has the story.
If you do this and then get stopped and checked in one of these, then there's a good chance you're going to be doing this. Walking, not driving. Almost 1,600 Saskatchewan drivers got temporary suspensions last year. They all tested positive for THC after taking a roadside screening test.
And it just doesn't make any sense.
Mike Bartlett runs a gardening store and is a medical cannabis user. He says the provincial laws around cannabis and driving are unfair.
Well, if you smoke a joint at night to help you go to bed at night, even if it's a high CBD and a very low THC, you can still test positive for several days. If you go through a check stop, it's a mandatory testing. If they don't like the way that you look or smell or act or talk, if they think your eyes are a little red, they're requesting a swab test. The police are asking if you use cannabis and you say, yes, I use cannabis every couple of days or I use it in the evenings, that's an automatic swab test. Everybody is failing.
The swab test he's talking about is what happens on a roadside stop. It checks for THC in saliva. Test positive, and this could lead to a blood test. And this is where things start getting complicated.
Daily user or the frequent user is in grave danger of criminal consequences.
Defense lawyer Mark Brayford says a blood test can measure residual THC from smoking days earlier. A user may not look or act impaired, but they'll be above the legal limit set by Parliament.
Parliament recognized that these people were going to be caught by this law, and they passed it anyway because they said we don't have good technology to deal with the fact that we have residual THC in people's bloodstreams that's not impairing them, but we don't have an answer for that.
Nice basil shots.
Mike Bartlett says the issues around how the roadside tests are administered are not going away, especially with summer camping season coming up.
All of a sudden, we've got road stops all over this province on a regular basis, and now all of a sudden you got people that are losing their RVs and their trucks and their families are on the side of the road because mom and dad enjoy a joint at night around the fire instead of drinking a bottle of whiskey.
Bartlett is not alone. He moderates a Facebook page with more than 300 members. They're calling for changes to cannabis driving laws. Dan Zakreski, CBC News, Saskatoon.
The government is expanding its drug treatment court program to North Battleford. The drug court operation can be offered to people charged with crimes related to drug use or addictions. They may receive a lesser sentence if they participate in an intensive treatment program. Today's announcement comes on the heels of a new coroner statistics showing overdoses in the province continue to be high. There were 143 suspected drug toxicity deaths recorded between January and April. Last year, 465 people are suspected to have died from drugs. It's hoped this program will help save lives.
Speaks to the drugs that we're dealing with in our communities across Saskatchewan and across the nation. They're nothing short of poison. They're addictive and more addictive than they've ever been in years gone by, and we need to provide all of the access points and all of the avenues, and behind that all the capacity so that recovery opportunities are available for people, and that's precisely what this drug rehabilitation court is part of. That.
It's another tool in the toolkit. We need a broad array of different strategies. There's no one approach that's going to make a difference, but all of these together incrementally can have impact. The other side of this, though, that's really, really important is that there has to be investment in the services. You can't have a drug court without increasing the access to services. The current system is overloaded. It doesn't have a great capacity.
But says he's hopeful the expansion of the drug court program will lead to a more robust system overall. If it means other services like counseling are also expanded, the North Battleford program is expected to launch in the fall. Regina police have a new tool that they say will ensure people in their custody stay safe and healthy. A new device has been mounted on the ceiling of some cells at the police services headquarters. It's able to monitor the heart and respiration rates of prisoners. Officers normally do visual checks every 15 minutes, but the new tech will give staff an extra set of eyes.
We are able to, our medics are able to set thresholds. So essentially a low threshold and a high threshold, so that if someone comes in and they're apparently sleeping and their heart rate or their respiratory rate goes below that threshold, which would indicate medical distress, or increases above that threshold, then an alarm is sounded.
The system was installed in March, and Beauchesne says it's already alerted officers to someone in distress. Police say that person was revived and taken to hospital. The decision to install the device was prompted by a man's death while in custody last August. The Saskatchewan government is steadfast that the benefits of its out-of-province travel spending outweigh the cost. But the opposition NDP does not agree. As Dane Patterson reports, it chose to officially recognize Saskatchewan government MLAs in a unique way.
It's less red carpet and more red-hot exchanges.
So, Mr. Speaker, today we have some awards to hand out to members of this tired and out-of-touch government, and we're going to call them the Spendies.
The Saskatchewan NDP has focused its travel criticism here in Dubai. The 9-day trip for 5 people costs more than $32,000. But it's this $765,000 pavilion the government used in Dubai that is under the most scrutiny.
The award goes to none other than the Premier with his $1 million week in Dubai, the most expensive junket in Saskatchewan's history.
Mr. Speaker, the member opposite calls it a junket because she doesn't understand how important trade is to this province, how important it is to industry leaders.
That trip is a part of the nearly $200,000 the government spent on international travel from April 2023 to April 2024. The most expensive excursions were to the Philippines and Singapore, India, and the United Arab Emirates.
We are going to be out there working with our job creators, working with our employers, working with our companies to sell those products around the world and attracting investment back here to Saskatchewan, Mr. Speaker.
Saskatchewan politicians spent nearly as much money traveling within Canada as well. One example, Minister Jim Ryder spending nearly $28,000 on a 4-day trip to Toronto, $12,500 alone to host guests with food and catering. In an email, the province said that Toronto trip included a full delegation of 5 people total. And they say the trip gave the officials a chance to meet with delegations there and mining companies to bring investment to the province. Dane Patterson, CBC News, Saskatoon.
Saskatchewan's Minister of Health says the province is working to address concerns of frontline registered nurses. Yesterday, we told you about a survey of registered nurses that revealed concerns about patient safety due to understaffing. More than half surveyed say they've considered quitting. Everett Hindley says the government is working to hire more nurses.
It's obviously of concern, and we know that it's a snapshot, of course, and reflective of a portion of the membership that responded to the survey, and that's it shows that while we have made some significant progress when it comes to staffing and recruitment challenges and a variety of healthcare designations around the province, we still have some work to do.
The Saskatchewan Union of Nurses has asked the government to create a task force or committee to work through healthcare issues nurses are having. The government has refused that proposal, pointing to its Health and Human Resources Action Plan. For the first time since 1988, Saskatoon will use a registered voters list in the fall's municipal and school board elections. It's part of the city's election modernization strategy that was approved by City Council last May. Starting in July, those eligible can register to vote at saskatoon.ca/vote2024. The city's returning officer says data will be collected from Election Saskatchewan to establish the municipal voter registry. Shelley Bryant says this will make it easier to vote on Election Day. It will also save the city of Saskatoon the cost of doing a formal enumeration and make it faster for residents to vote. There will even be a drive-through polling station.
We started this when COVID occurred for people not to have to actually leave their cars. So we anticipate having a drive-through voting opportunity at City Hall through the back parking lot. Logistics still to be worked out with that, but that is what we're hoping to do. It's one of those things where we don't want to decrease the opportunities for people to cast their votes.
This rollout is all part of Voter Registration Month, as declared by the province. The provincial election is set for October 28th, followed by civic and school board elections on November 13th. And people who haven't registered can still do so on Election Day at their voting station. A new bylaw will be put forward in 2 weeks' time to create something called a community safety zone in Regina's Cathedral area. If approved, it will reduce speed limits to 40 kilometers an hour for the entire area. Council's taken the first steps to reduce speeds in the busy area, but rejected a proposal to make it as low as 30 kilometers an hour. Mayor Sandra Masters says 40 is a compromise. School zones will still be 30 kilometers an hour, and Masters says it will take time to put up new signage, but she expects that to be done sometime in June. Rough Rider hopefuls were again today trying to make an impression on the new head coach. It was day 2 of the Riders rookie camp in Saskatoon. One of the newcomers trying to make the team, Catley Joseph. He was a standout the last 2 seasons with the U of S Huskies, so he's very familiar with the venue for camp, which is Griffith Stadium. The defensive back had a couple big plays in today's scrimmages, including an interception.
So I can't even put it in words. The first interception for me in camp so far. Basically, coach says whenever you catch that ball, return it.
You know, we're asking him to play the free safety position, and you know, being a Swiss Army knife from that standpoint, Catley's done a heck of a job to this point. You know, certainly looking for him to continue to climb, and then obviously, you know, when the lights come on, to see if he's really ready.
Friday is the third and final day of rookie camp. The Riders' main camp starts on Sunday. That leads up to the Riders hosting the Bombers in their first preseason game on Victoria Day. What an amazing day to be outside, whether you're snapping a selfie by the lake or out for a paddle in a canoe. Lots of people taking advantage of the nice weather to spend some time on or around Wascana Lake in Regina. Looks like we are in for a run of sunny luck. Ethan will have the details in your forecast after the break. Stay with us. Federal officials say Canada's north and western provinces could see an above-average wildfire risk by next month. Minister Harjit Sajjan says severe weather is not just a threat to communities, they're also costly for Canadians.
Climate-related impacts are now costing average Canadian households $720 per year today, and if left unchecked, it could increase to approximately $2,000 per year by 2050.
There are at least 87 active wildfires burning in Canada. 6 of them are out of control. Most are in Alberta, BC, and Manitoba. We do have 5 burning right now in Saskatchewan. So far this year, almost 1.5 million hectares have burned across the country. More than 100 people are dead in Brazil and more than 100 are missing after heavy rain triggered massive floods in the southern part of the country. Some tense moments for this man, desperate to keep himself above water until rescuers saved him. Crews are navigating the roads of Porto Alegre by boat, searching for stranded residents and animals. About 200,000 people have been displaced, some now living on overpasses. At the city's airport, planes were nearly underwater. Entire towns are submerged, along with dozens of vehicles. The flooding crisis could worsen with several more days of heavy rain expected.
This weather update is brought to you by Crestview Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, proud member of the Capital Automotive Group.
And our weather specialist, Ethan Williams, joins me now. We are officially in must get outside during the day weather.
Yeah, we're going from spring almost into summer-like weather here as these temperatures continue to warm up across the province. And of course, the sunshine really helping with that as well. Clear across south and central Saskatchewan. In the north, mostly clear, except for a few thunderstorms popping up. No radar coverage, of course, in this part of the province, but you can kind of tell by these almost popcorn-like clouds that we have here in northeastern sections that we likely do have a few of those non-severe storms we expected to pop up throughout the afternoon. And we do know it is quite windy. Winds primarily from the northwest today, and especially in east central portions of the province in that range of 50 to 60 kilometers an hour. Breezy across much of south and central in the range of 40 to 50 today. But those temperatures definitely jumping up, getting into the 20s this afternoon through much of the southern half of the province, well into the teens through the Churchill region, and even into the mid-teens for portions of far northern Saskatchewan. Thunderstorms expected to die off through the night tonight in that part of the province, but as we get into tomorrow, the north likely going to be seeing some cloud cover moving back in, while south and central remains mostly sunny. And then we start to see another low pressure system make its way in, or the remnants of it anyway, into northern sections of the province as we head into early Saturday morning. That will bring some cloud cover to portions of especially southern Saskatchewan getting into Saturday afternoon. This model seems to indicate that there may even be a little bit of snow in far northeastern Saskatchewan as that system slides on by, but much of the far north at least going to be seeing cloud cover that day. And then Sunday, a little bit of some rain showers moving through south central and southwestern Saskatchewan. Not looking for very much rain here, maybe only a couple of millimeters. I think it's really going to be extreme northeastern sections that will see that rain moving through. And of course, not great for the fire risk. Today, the rain has helped keep that low, especially in southwestern sections of the province. But if we jump to tomorrow, you can see how that yellow, that high risk really begins extending its way southward, and we even have a pocket of extreme risk through the Parkland region. And what's not really going to help with that is the winds. Those will continue to be breezy as those systems move through the province, and we catch some stronger gusts, especially heading into Saturday, northwesterly 50 to 60 in the north of the province. But it will be still quite pleasant, even though it will be a little bit windy at times for Regina and southern Saskatchewan, as we see some overnight lows near double-digit territory as we head Friday into Saturday, which is looking to be quite a warm day. Temperatures returning to seasonal or even a bit below that for the beginning of next week as those breezy conditions persist. For Saskatoon and central Saskatchewan, that warmth coming your way already tomorrow. You're into the mid-20s for much of the weekend, and then we start to see a bit of that cool down, maybe some afternoon showers Monday lingering into Tuesday before a return to some of that warmer weather as we head through Wednesday, Thursday. So dry and warm for the first part here, Sam, but we are hopeful that more rain is on the way.
That looks like balance, Ethan. Nice forecast.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you.
You bet.
A museum in Jordan has created an underwater museum. Tanks, jeeps, and even a helicopter are on the seabed for people to swim around and soak in. The War Museum also has glass-bottom boat rides to take in the view. It was built in 2019 mostly to help boost tourism in the region, but also to draw visitors away from nearby natural reefs to preserve local marine life. We'll be back after the break. Jewish students are voicing their concern about the growing threat of anti-Semitism on university campuses. Today, some of them shared their experiences with Canada's House of Commons Standing Committee on Justice and Human Rights. Rafi Boudjikanian has the story.
These hateful symbols scrawled over a student art display at the University of Alberta, just the latest in a series of acts of anti-Semitism reported by students from across Canadian campuses who spoke out to MPs today.
I have been left after this year with the impression that the U of A is more interested in covering up systematic anti-Semitism on campus than addressing it head-on and working towards change.
In the course of your experience, have you heard people celebrate October 7th and celebrate Hamas?
I will never forget hearing on October 8th the chant, "There are no civilians."
But while Liberals sought to turn the spotlight on the universities, Conservatives insisted the federal government was to blame.
Do you think that the government has done enough to protect Jewish students or have anybody enforce the law on campus? Just a yes or no.
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 But the students were less cut and dry when the opposition tried drawing attention to this recent picture of two federal ministers meeting the president of the Palestinian Authority on a recent trip to the West Bank.
Do you think pictures like this help? Yes or no?
I checked. I don't have to say yes or no. I don't think that's necessarily relevant to what we're discussing right now.
I'd like to be asked a question about my experience on campus.
Yeah, sure.
Away from the politics, the University of Alberta and the artists behind the art display did wash the swastika off, saying they only learned about it yesterday, are unaware of who had scrawled it on the piece, and that hate speech is not acceptable. The committee, meanwhile, will continue interviewing witnesses. Next up are community groups and police forces, followed by university administrators later this month, before it tackles Islamophobia on campus too. Rafi Bujikani on CBC News, Ottawa.
In Regina, police are investigating several vandalism incidents in downtown overnight. The Regina Cenotaph and at least 2 bus stops were defaced by graffiti. Vandals sprayed several anti-Zionist phrases on the structure, some of which included graphic language. Premier Scott Moe called the vandalism anti-Semitic on his social media this morning, saying there's no place for that kind of hatred in Saskatchewan. And Ethan's back with one last look at your weather.
It'll be a warm one for Regina and the south tonight. Temperature near 10 degrees at midnight. Those winds out of the northwest, still a little bit breezy at times. But a big theme, of course, the sunshine. We're seeing a little bit of increasing cloudiness tomorrow morning as we're already at 10, and then near 20 degrees by the noon hour already as those clouds clear away. I think those winds are going to pick up a little bit as we head through the afternoon, though. For Saskatoon, again, at 10 at midnight. Tomorrow morning, seeing those winds a little bit gustier for you as we start the morning and then getting into the afternoon. Again, I think probably later afternoon hours, those will be gusting 40 to 50, but already at 20 degrees by that noon hour, mostly sunny conditions, and things will be continuing to warm up, Sam, as we head over these next few days in both Regina and Saskatoon.
A nice Friday ahead. Thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
And that is it for us tonight. For news anytime, you can head to cbc.ca/Sask or /Saskatoon. Subscribe to CBC Saskatchewan's YouTube channel or download the CBC News app on your phone or tablet. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great night.